Shalom, 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 Israel. I'm your brother, Soldier Kasadia, with Sons of Zion, Houston.
Right, and brother Jamaica.
Con. We're here for another week of Faith by Works, where we bring out a commandment each and every week. First and foremost, I want to say Salakia for the absence of the brother Kazak. If y'all can just keep the brother in y'all's prayers, he's dealing with an illness at the moment, so he couldn't be here with us physically, but for sure he's with us in the spirit, right? So this week we're just going to do a second part, just to kind of wrap up with a bow what we brought out the previous class, right? When it comes to who the heathens are versus who the Gentiles are, right? As we brought out last week, the Gentiles don't always necessarily mean heathens. And as the brother Jamaica brought out, more often than not in the scriptures, the Gentiles is referring to the Israelites, right? So before we get into that, bring out the introductory precepts. Of course, the classic Colossians 3:17, it says, and whatsoever ye do in word or deed, do all in the name of the Lord Yahweh Shai, giving thanks to God and the Father by him. So everything that we do, we want to make sure that we're giving all of that glory to the Father, right? In the name of his only begotten Son, whose name is Yahweh Shai, right? Which the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, right? This book of James 2:14. It says, what do it profit, my brethren, though a man say he hath faith and have not works? Can faith save him? Right? A lot of our people, we like to talk about how much we believe, how much we have faith, how much we have the Lord in our life, right? But at the end of the day, does that hold any type of weight versus somebody that's here? Let's get it. James 2:17, right? It says, even so, faith, if it has not works, is dead, being alone, right? Yea, a man may say, thou hast faith, and I have works. Show me thy faith without thy works, and I will show thee my faith by my works, right? This is a very important concept that we have to understand, right? We can say, for instance, we all had a homeboy that was real good at basketball, right, coming up. We can all say, oh, I believe he going to go to the league. I believe he going to make it, be a millionaire, this, that, and the third, right? Or how do you show him that you believe that, right? Are you going to kind of go to all his games, go to his practices, kind of cheer him on? Are you going to do what you need to do to try to keep him out the streets, to make sure he good, he got his head on straight? Going to help him with his homework to make sure his grades are good? Or are you just going to live your day to day, and when he finally makes it big, you pop up back in his life talking about, I always knew you was going to be something? No, we can't do the Most High God like that, right? He gave us a way that we're supposed to live, and he gave us what he likes, what he dislikes. He gave us commandments, laws, and statutes to live by, and these are the works that show that you believe in him, right? And that's what this class is all about, right? It's the book of 1 John chapter 3 and verse 18. It says, my little children, let us not love in word, neither in tongue, but in deed and in truth, right? These are actions, right? And the truth are these laws, right? The precepts, these commandments are the truth, right? And this is what we have to live by. So, like we brought out earlier, this is part 2 to what we were bringing out last week, right? And I'm going to refresh the commandment of the week, Deuteronomy chapter 8 and verse 19. It says, and it shall be, if thou do at all forget the Lord thy God, and walk after other gods, and serve them, and worship them, I testify against you this day that ye shall surely perish. As the nations which the Lord destroyed before your face, so shall ye perish, because ye will not be obedient unto the voice of the Lord your God, right? At the end of the day, what we're trying to get across is that we don't want to worship the gods of the heathen nations, right? We want to worship the God who called us by his name, who surnamed us, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, right? The Most High God, Yahweh. We are his chosen people, and the other people, they are nothing, right? And what we're trying to clear up to you is the fact that, contrary to what the world believes, contrary to Christian doctrine, right? Everybody can't get in on this because he is our God. Real quick, bring out a precept. Actually, I'm on a good precept right now, but that's not what I want. I'll go to the book of Isaiah. chapter 40, verse 17. It says, all nations before him are as nothing, and they are counted to him less than nothing and vanity, right? And it's always going to be that way. Because what? Micah chapter 3. Salaki. From Malachi chapter 3. Malachi chapter 3 and verse 6, right? It says, for I am the Lord, I change not. Therefore, ye sons of Jacob are not consumed. So at the end of the day, the Most High God is not dealing with any heathens, right? He's not dealing with the other nations. He's only dealing with the children of Israel, the seed line of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, right? And there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. So as we continue to prove that a lot of these so-called Gentiles in the scriptures would be Israelites, we first have to understand, right? Why was there a difference put between Jews and Gentiles in the first place? Well, that's because the kingdom was actually rent, right? Way back. And it really started during the rulership of King Solomon. And we're going to prove that, right? It's the book of 1 Kings, chapter 11. And we're going to jump around just for the sake of time, because brothers do got to go to camp. Let's start at verse 1, right? 1 Kings chapter 11 and verse 1. It says, but King Solomon loved many strange women, together with the daughter of Pharaoh, women of the Moabites, Ammonites, Edomites, Zidonians, and Hittites, of the nations concerning which the Lord said unto the children of Israel, ye shall not go into them, neither shall they come in unto you. For surely they will turn away your heart after their gods. Solomon claimed unto these in love. Right? I'm going to jump down. Verse 4, it says, for it came to pass when Solomon was old that his wives turned away his heart after other gods, and his heart was not perfect with the Lord his God, as was the heart of David his father, right? So here we see Solomon is breaking the commandment of the week, right? It says, for Solomon went after Ashtaroth, the goddess of the Zidonians, after Milcom, the abomination of the Ammonites. And Solomon did evil in the sight of the Lord, and went not fully after the Lord, as did David his father. Right? Jump down again. Again, all for the sake of time, right? Verse 9 says, and the Lord was very angry with Solomon, because his heart was turned from the Lord God of Israel, which had appeared unto him twice, and had commanded him concerning this thing, that he should not go after other gods, but he kept not that which the Lord commanded. Wherefore the Lord said unto Solomon, for as much as this is done of thee, and thou hast not kept my covenant and my statutes which I have commanded thee, I will surely rend the kingdom from thee, and will give it to thy servant. Notwithstanding, in thy days I will not do it for David thy father's sake, but I will rend it out of the hand of thy son. Howbeit, I will not rend away all the kingdom, but will give one tribe to thy son for David my servant's sake, and for Jerusalem's sake, which I have chosen. Right? So we see right here, the Most High is going to cause a separation, right? Solomon's seed line, the seed line of David, is only going to hold on to one small portion of the total nation of Israel. The rest of Israel is going to be given into the control of someone else, right? And the brother's going to get into it, but I'm going to go ahead and set them up. I'm going to jump down to verse 26. It says, in Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, an Ephrathite of Zerata, Solomon's servant, whose mother's name was Zeruah, a widow woman, even he lifted up his hand against the king. And this was the cause that he lifted up his hand against the king. Solomon built Millo and repaired the breaches of the city of David his father. And the man Jeroboam was a mighty man of valor. And Solomon, seeing the young man that he was industrious, he made him ruler over all the charge of the house of Joseph. And it came to pass at that time, when Jeroboam went out of Jerusalem, that the prophet Ahijah the Shilonite found him in the way, and he had clad himself with the new garment, and they two were alone in the field. And Ahijah caught the new garment that was on him and rent it in 12 pieces, right? And he said to Jeroboam, take thee 10 pieces, for thus said the Lord, the God of Israel, behold, I will rend the kingdom out of the hand of Solomon and will give 10 tribes to thee. But he shall have one tribe for my servant David's sake and for Jerusalem's sake, the city which I have chosen out of all the tribes of Israel. So again, double down right here, right? The Most High God is getting ready to rend the kingdom. He's getting ready to split the kingdom up, right? Into two different parts. 10 tribes are going to go here, and the other two tribes, really is three, but that's another lesson for another day, is going to stay under the name of King David, who's of the tribe of Judah, right? And the brother's going to get into it with that idea.
God, so I just pick up right where the brother left off. Uh, Matter of fact, I'll read one more down on that. Verse 33, 1 Kings 11 and 33. It says, because that they have forsaken me and have worshipped Ashtoreth, the goddess of the Zidonians, Kamash, the god of the Moabites, and Milcom, the god of the children of Ammon, and have not walked in my ways to do that which is right in mine eyes, and to keep my statutes and my judgments, as did David his father Salakia. Right. So the kingdom right here is split, right? And like the brother said, it was like two tribes unto Judah. It would be Judah and Benjamin, right? And he said even three, because he referring more so to Levi. Now, with Levi, as we know, they if we go all the way back to the law, they didn't necessarily have an inheritance. So they're given the suburbs around each tribe, basically. So you had Levites with the northern kingdom, or the southern and the northern kingdom, basically. You know what I'm saying? So, but let me get into that. Let me real quick. You know what? I'm gonna start at First King 12, and it's gonna kind of break it down in itself. You know what I'm saying? So First Kings 11 gave the prophecy. Now we're about to see the split basically unfold in First Kings 12. So I'm gonna start from the top. First Kings 12 and 1. It says, and Rehoboam went to Shechem, for all Israel would come to Shechem to make him king. And it came to pass when Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, who was yet in Egypt, heard of it, for he was fled from the presence of King Solomon, and Jeroboam dwelt in Egypt, that they sent and called him, and Jeroboam and all the congregation of Israel came and spake unto Rehoboam, saying, thy father made our yoke grievous. Now therefore make thou the grievous service of thy father and his heavy yoke which he put upon us lighter, and we will serve thee. Right? Verse 5, it says, and he said unto them, depart yet for 3 days, then come again to me, and the people departed. Right? So, verse 6, it says, and King Rehoboam consulted with the old men that stood before Solomon his father while he yet lived, and said, how do ye advise that I answer this people? So Rehoboam, he told them to go ahead and go for 3 days so he can seek counsel, right? And rightfully so, he went to the elders, right? Let's see what happened. Verse 7, it says, and they spake unto him, saying, if thou wilt be a servant unto this people this day, and will serve them, and answer them, and speak good words to them, then they will be thy servants forever. And right there, that's righteous counsel, right? You know what I'm saying? We have the greatest example of that, even with Yahweh Shai, being a servant. Even though you're a leader, you can still be a servant to your people, right? But let's see what happened. See how it unfold. Verse 8, it says, but he forsook the counsel of the old men which they had given him, and consulted with the young men that were grown up with him, and which stood before him. So the brother went to his partners. He forsook the counsel of the old men and went to his partners like, man, what y'all think about this? I don't know about that. Right? Verse 9, it says, and he said unto them, what counsel give ye that we may answer this people? Who have spoken to me, saying, make the yoke which thy father did put upon us lighter. And the young men that were grown up with him spake to him, saying, Thus shalt thou speak unto this people that spake unto thee, saying, Thy father made our yoke heavy, but make thou it lighter unto us. Thus shalt thou say unto them, My little finger shall be thicker than my father's loins. That's crazy work. I can't even believe he said that, right? But let's keep going. Verse 11, it says, And now, whereas my father did lay you with a heavy yoke, I will add to your yoke. My father have chastised you with whips, but I will chastise you with scorpions. So Jeroboam and all the people came to Rehoboam the third day, as the king had appointed, saying, Come to me again the third day. And the king answered the people roughly and forsook the old men's counsel that they gave to him. So basically, after 3 days, you know, the people came back to him like, okay, like let's see what he got to say. We told him that we was gonna serve him if he just make our yoke a little lighter, but he forsook the counsel of the elders and took the counsel of his homeboy or whatever. And they told him, damn that, double down, basically, like Pharaoh spirit. You know what I'm saying? So let's jump down so I don't keep reading down on that. Like jump down and get to the point. Verse 19. So verse 19, it says, So Israel rebelled against the house of David unto this day. So now right here we see like basically we're divided. So to where we didn't deal with each other anymore. So I mean, as you progress through the book of Kings, you're gonna see that it was like war. There was only certain time in the midst of our enemies, like probably twice that I can remember off the top of my head, that we end up coming together for the sake of, you know, for war, right? But we've been split this whole time, right? The whole kingdom is split, right? So let me go down a little bit to get into what the brother Kasadia was saying. Let me see. Okay,
Say
I'll
Salaki.
just keep reading. Cause, huh?
I about to say
What you say?
Salaki. There's a precept that just gets it all in one swoop. That is 3 tribes. If you do that Second Chronicles 11,
Well, all right, bring it out right after this.
come.
This is First Kings 12. I'm gonna start at 20 and read through 21, and then you got it. So First Kings 12 and 20, it says, And it came to pass, when all Israel heard that Jeroboam was come again, that they sent and called him unto the congregation, and made him king over all Israel. There was none that followed the house of David, but the tribe of Judah only. And when Rehoboam was come to Jerusalem, he assembled all the house of Judah with the tribe of Benjamin, and 180,000 chosen men, which were warriors, to fight against the house of Israel, to bring the kingdom again to Rehoboam, the son of Solomon. So that shows you that Judah and Benjamin was together, right? And then the brother's about to bring out one, I believe, showing that Levi was in the midst of it. So with that, I
Real quick, just to further that, the book of Second Chronicles, chapter 11, starting at verse 5. It says, And Rehoboam, remember that's son of Solomon, the king of Judah, right? And Rehoboam dwelt in Jerusalem and built cities for defense in Judah. Jumping down to verse 11. And he fortified the strongholds and put captains in them, and store of victual and of oil and wine. And in every several city he put shields and spears and made them exceeding strong, having Judah and Benjamin on his side. And the priests and the Levites that were in all Israel resorted to him out of all their coasts. For the Levites left their suburbs and their possession and came to Judah and Jerusalem, for Jeroboam and his sons had cast them off from executing the priest's office unto the Lord. Right? So right there, it just shows you. So this one tribe that we call Judah, in this context, is really talking about Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. Right? And these are the tribes that would make up what we call the southern kingdom. Right? Now, that's the split of the kingdom of Israel. Right? And after that split, northern kingdom, which what we call Israel or Ephraim in the scriptures, they were actually cast off. Both sides were cast off, but northern kingdom was actually cast off first, right? And when you read about the Gentiles again, more often than not in the scriptures, it's talking about Israelites. It's talking about northern kingdom, right? But let's see how they were cast off. It's the book of 2 Kings, chapter 17. And there's a lot of reading in there. Let's see where I want to start. Start at verse 7. We're going to jump around, right? It says, "For so it was that the children of Israel had sinned against the Lord their God, which had brought them up out of the land of Egypt, for under the hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and had feared other gods, and walked in the statutes of the heathen." Again, breaking that commandment, the commandment of the week, "whom the Lord cast out from before the children of Israel, and of the kings of Israel, which they had made. And the children of Israel did secretly those things that were not right against the Lord their God. And they built them high places in all their cities, and from the tower of the watchman to the fenced city. And they set them up images and groves in every high hill and under every green tree, right? And there they burnt incense in all the high places, as did the heathen, whom the Lord carried away before them, and wrought wicked things to provoke the Lord to anger. For they served idols, whereof the Lord has said unto them, Ye shall not do this thing, right? So you see right here, Israel, aka Northern Kingdom, is just severely going off, being wicked and idolatry, right? They're serving other gods. They're doing as the heathens do, right? They're completely throwing away the heritage of our forefathers, the heritage that the Lord gave us, right? To keep his commandments. He gave us a law for an heritage as pertaining to Sirach chapter 17 and verse 11. Israel is completely throwing that by the wayside, and they doing their own thing, right? Let's see. Let's keep going. Verse 13. It says, "Yet the Lord testified against Israel and against Judah by all the prophets and by all the seers, saying, Turn ye from your evil ways and keep my commandments and my statutes according to all the law which I commanded your fathers, and which I sent to you by my servants the prophets. Notwithstanding, they would not hear, but hardened their necks like the neck of their fathers, that did not believe in the Lord their God. And they rejected his statutes and his covenants that he made with their fathers, and his testimony which he testified against them. And they followed vanity and became vain, and went after the heathen that were round about them, concerning whom the Lord had charged them that they should not do like them." Right? So we keep seeing the Lord is doubling, tripling, quadrupling down on the fact that they are following the heathens, right? So we have to actually sit down and think about this, right? If the Gentiles, as the world would put it, is all these other nations, the heathen so called, right? How is the Lord then going to, the Lord that doesn't change, as we brought out in Malachi chapter 3 and 6? How is the Lord then going to give those same heathens that he told us not to follow, not to be around, not to do like they do? How is he going to give them that same salvation when he separated us from them? He told us to be separate from them. He told us to worship him, and they're worshiping other gods. They're setting up images and idols, right? How is this a same Gentiles that caused us to fall? How are these Gentiles the same, and these heathens the same group of people? It's not, right? The Most High God had gave us commandment concerning those heathens, right? So when we're dealing with the Gentiles that can be saved, we're obviously not dealing with the ones that he told us to not go around in the first place, the ones that we got to get saved from, right? Pertaining to Luke 168 on down, right? And we have to be saved from these people. What are these people being saved from? And these are things that we have to always understand, but I'll keep going, right? Verse 16, it says, "And they left all the commandments of the Lord their God, and made them molten images, even 2 calves, and made a grove, and worshiped all the hosts of heaven, and served Baal. And they caused their sons and their daughters to pass through the fire, and used divination and enchantments, and sold themselves to do evil in the sight of the Lord to provoke him to anger. Therefore, and here's the point, the Lord was very angry with Israel, again, northern kingdom, and removed them out of his sight. There was none left but the tribe of Judah only. Right? So there you go. Israel was cast off. Right? Israel was cast off from the sight of Most High God. I mean, it continues. It says, also Judah kept not the commandment of the Lord their God, but walked in the statutes of Israel which they made. And the Lord rejected all the seed of Israel and afflicted them and delivered them into the hand of spoilers until he had cast them out of his sight. For he rent Israel from the house of David, and they made Jeroboam the son of Nebat king. And Jeroboam drave Israel from following the Lord and made them sin a great sin. For the children of Israel walked in all the sins of Jeroboam, which he did. They departed not from them, until the Lord removed Israel out of his sight, as he has said by all his servants, the prophets. So was Israel carried away out of their own land to Assyria unto this day. Right? So at the end of the day, Israel, northern kingdom, was cast completely off. They ended up having to go through that one of them curses in Deuteronomy 28. Right? It was 28:64, and they were taken into captivity by the Assyrians, right? Judah was going off too, but Judah hadn't yet been cast off. Honestly, with that, I yield.
Good points, bro. And on top of that, like to touch on one of the points that you brought out as far as Israel, because when we read through the scriptures, we'll see that, people can be referred to as different things, like the brother brought out. You know, we showing the split of, our people, what they refer to as Judah and Israel, but Israel can also be referred to as Ephraim, like it's called, just like, us as a people, Israelites can be referred to as Jacob or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like we have many names throughout the scripture. So just to prove that real quick, let me grab this in Isaiah. So this is Isaiah 7 and 9. Nope. I'm gonna start at 5. It says, because Syria, Ephraim, and the son of Remaliah have taken evil counsel against thee, saying, let us go up against Judah, showing that they still split, they still at war. Ephraim, or Israel, basically going up against Judah, right? Said, let us go up against Judah and vex it, and let us make a breach therefore, Salakia, let us make a breach therein for us, and set a king in the midst of it, even the son of Tabil. Thus saith the Lord God, it shall not stand, neither shall it come to pass. For the head of Syria is Damascus, and the head of Damascus is Rezin. And within 65 years shall Ephraim be broken, that it be not a people, right? And this is what it go into when you think about that, those prophecies of us no longer being a people, us being cast off, right? Because we are all of this, the same tree, right? The same stock, right? And now they are broken and considered not a people. That now Ephraim would be like pertaining to the scripture, be looked at as Gentiles, right? A whole nother people. Let me keep going. Verse 9 is the point. It says, and the head of Ephraim is Samaria, and the head of Samaria is Ramaliah's son, right? So let me get something else. This is go to the book of Hosea real quick. Hosea 4, and I'm gonna go to 15. It says, though thou, Israel, play the harlot, yet let not Judah offend, and come not ye unto Gilgal, neither go ye up to Bethaven, nor swear the Lord liveth. For Israel slideth back as a backsliding heifer. Now the Lord will feed them as a lamb in a large place. Ephraim is joined to idols, let him alone. Now notice, it wasn't talking about Ephraim this whole time. I mean, it was, but it wasn't. It didn't mention the name Ephraim. In the context, the Lord is talking about Israel. It says Israel have played the harlot. Israel slided back as a backsliding heifer. But now right here it say Ephraim is joined the idols, let him alone. Just like the precept the brother brought out, as well as if we go all the way back to the beginning with First Kings 11, right? And I think it was verse 33 showing that they was going after all these other gods and engulfed in idolatry. And this is the reason for them being cast off. But the Lord being so ultimately merciful and compassionate to his chosen people, his elect, there's future prophecy showing that these people are going to be brought back in, right? That grafted in process that the Christian church likes to talk about. And those people that are going to be grafted in, of course, would be the Gentiles. But these Gentiles, again, what we're trying to show you would be our people. It'll be Israel, right? It'll be us coming back together, into one fold instead of being separate, right? So real quick, just to double down on what I just brought out in Hosea, this is Jeremiah 3, right? I'm gonna go to Jeremiah 3 and I'm gonna start at 12. It says, "Go and proclaim these words towards the north and say, Return, thou backsliding Israel," right? So this right here, just to make it make sense, this is future prophecy, right? Like, because it's speaking towards the land of the north, and it's about to go into trying to bring us back together, like bring our people back together. But it says, "Go and proclaim these words towards the north, and say, Return, thou backsliding Israel, saith the Lord, and I will not cause mine anger to fall upon you, for I am merciful, saith the Lord, and I will not keep anger forever. Only acknowledge thine iniquity." So just repent, come back to me. Acknowledge your iniquity, right? It says, "Only acknowledge thine iniquity, that thou hast transgressed against the Lord thy God, and hast scattered thy ways to the strangers under every green tree," like the brother brought out, right? Going into idolatry, "under every green tree, and ye have not obeyed my voice, saith the Lord. Turn, O backsliding children, saith the Lord, for I am married unto you. And I will take you, one of a city, and two of a family, and I will bring you to Zion." It says, let me see if I need to keep reading down on this. Yeah, I just keep going, just for context. 15, it says, "And I will give you pastors according to mine heart, which shall feed you with knowledge and understanding," right? To apparently rid them for their idolatrous ways and, partaking in the ways of all these other nations that they are scattered abroad amongst, right? It says, "And it shall come to pass when ye be multiplied and increased in the land in those days, saith the Lord, they shall say no more, the ark of the covenant of the Lord, neither shall it come to mind, neither shall they remember it, neither shall they visit it, neither shall that be done anymore." Verse 17, "At that time they shall call Jerusalem the throne of the Lord, and all nations shall be gathered unto it, to the name of the Lord, to Jerusalem, neither shall they walk any more after the imagination of their evil heart. In those days the house of Judah shall walk with the house of Israel, and they shall come together out of the land of the north to the land that I have given you for inheritance to your fathers," right? So that's showing that it's future prophecy, because if we go back to what we just read in First Kings, right, it said that Israel didn't deal with Judah no more until that day. And it's going to happen like that until this prophecy be fulfilled, right? So let me jump down. Verse 20, it says, "Surely as a wife treacherously departed from her husband, so have ye dealt treacherously with me, O house of Israel, saith the Lord," right? So, and that's going back into the present, right? It's talking about Israel dealing treacherously, not, keeping this covenant with the Most High God, going off into these idolatrous ways. They are cast off. But the Most High God, what I'm saying, by way of His word, by way of you know, His holy prophets, what I'm saying, that don't speak any lies, have prophesied that these people will be coming back together, right? And again, these are these Gentiles that you see when you're looking into the scriptures in the, the New Testament, basically. But with that, you got it out.
Gone. So like I said, when you talk about these so-called Gentiles, right? Understand that the Most High, first off, like we brought out last week, you got to put precept upon precept in order to get the understanding. The Most High is only dealing with the children of Israel, who He always had full intention of bringing back together, both northern and southern kingdom, right? And we can prove that. How do we start off today? Right, we're in 1 Kings 11. Let's get a little more on 1 Kings 11, right? And this is verse 35. It says, "But I will take the kingdom out of his son's hand, and will give it unto thee, even 10 tribes. And unto his son will I give one tribe, that David my servant may have a light always before me in Jerusalem, the city which I have chosen me to put my name there. And I will take thee, and thou shalt reign according to all that thy soul desire, and shalt be king over Israel." So this is the Most High talking to Jeroboam right now, right? It says, "And it shall be, if thou wilt hearken unto all that I command thee, and will walk in my ways, and do that is right in my sight, to keep my statutes and my commandments, as David my servant did, that I will be with thee, and build thee a sure house, as I built for David, and will give Israel unto thee. And I will for this afflict the seed of David, but not forever." Right? So this was always meant to be a temporary thing. Right? As the brother was mightily and eloquently putting out, like the Most High God always had intention on bringing these same people broken into two different kingdoms back together, right? And it's all throughout prophecy, right? Things that have not happened yet. For instance, let's go to the classic, right? It's the book of Ezekiel, chapter 37. Start at verse 15. It says, "The word of the Lord came again unto me, saying, Moreover, thou son of man, take thee one stick, and write upon it for Judah, and for the children of Israel his companions, and take another stick, and write upon it for Joseph, the stick of Ephraim." As the brother was eloquently putting out, like a bunch of names that will refer to the same people, right? For Joseph, the stick of Ephraim, and for all the house of Israel, his companions, right? So both of these are the same house of Israel, right? You got Judah, you got Ephraim, right? It says, "And join them one to another into one stick, and they shall become one in thine hand. And when the children of thy people shall speak unto thee, saying, Wilt thou not show us what thou meanest by these? Say unto them, Thus saith the Lord God, Behold, I will take the stick of Joseph, which is in the hand of Ephraim, and the tribes of Israel his fellows, and will put them with him, even with the stick of Judah, and make them one stick, and they shall be one in mine hand. And the sticks whereon thou writest shall be in thine hand before their eyes." Right? So at the end of the day, like I said, it's in prophecy. The Most High is always intended on bringing this fold back together, right? Under one rulership. That's the line of David, right? Which, if you know, Yahweh Shai will be the ruler of that kingdom, the kingdom of heaven, right? So let's double, triple down on that. The book of Isaiah, chapter 11. Let's start from the top. Isaiah chapter 11, verse 1. It says, "And there shall come forth a rod out of the stem of Jesse," right? Jesse would be the father of David. "And a branch shall grow out of his roots, and the spirit of the Lord shall rest upon him, the spirit of wisdom and understanding, the spirit of counsel and might, the spirit of knowledge and the fear of the Lord, and shall make him of quick understanding in the fear of the Lord. And he shall not judge after the sight of his eyes, neither reprove after the hearing of his ears. But with righteousness shall he judge the poor, and reprove the equity of the meek for the meek of the earth. And he shall smite the earth with the rod of his mouth, and with the breath of his lips shall he slay the wicked." Right? This is obviously talking about Yahushua. Right? We're gonna jump down. We're gonna jump down to verse number 10. Actually, no, I want 9 first, right? It says, they shall not hurt nor destroy in all my holy mountain, for the earth shall be full of the knowledge of the Lord, as the waters cover the sea. And in that day there shall be a root of Jesse, which shall stand for an ensign of the people. To it shall the Gentiles seek, and his rest shall be glorious, right? And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria and from Egypt and from Pathros and from Cush and from Elam and from Shinar and from Hamath and from the islands of the sea. And he shall set up an ensign for the nations, and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel, and gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth. Right? This is that gospel that's being preached out. This is what was happening all throughout the New Testament, right? Pushing that gospel of Yahweh Shai, the gathering of the people of Israel and of the people of Judah that had been dispersed out of the four corners of the earth. This is the Gentiles that is going to be saved that we're talking about, right? And again, just to further the point that the Most High God has always had this plan on bringing these two kingdoms together. Verse 13, it says, the envy also of Ephraim shall depart, and the adversaries of Judah shall be cut off. Ephraim shall not envy Judah, and Judah shall not vex Ephraim. So the fighting is going to stop, right? It's all of the Most High. He's always had a will and a plan to bring us back together in righteousness, right? And it, like the brother brought out, it's prophecy. None of these things have happened yet. None of these things have happened yet. We can prove that. Jeremiah 31 and 31. A lot, 20 pages. It says, behold, the days come, meaning they haven't happened yet, said the Lord, that I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day that I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt, which my covenant they break. Right? Although I was a husband unto them, said the Lord, but this shall be the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel. After those days, said the Lord, I will put my law in their inward parts and write it in their hearts, and will be their God, and they shall be my people. Right? And they shall teach no more every man his neighbor and every man his brother, saying, know the Lord, for they shall all know me, from the least of them unto the greatest of them, said the Lord, for I will forgive their iniquity and will remember their sin no more. And I really read that last verse just to prove that that hasn't happened yet. We are obviously still out here teaching you, so we understand that this prophecy has not happened, this new covenant that the Lord is going to make with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah. And before y'all say, oh, that's Old Testament, that's Old Testament. Here, let me get it in Hebrews 8 and 8. This is New Testament. About this much Bible left, right? This much Bible left. Hebrews 8 and 8, right? It says, for finding fault with them, he said, behold, the days come, said the Lord, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day when I took them by the hand to lead them out of the land of Egypt, because they continued not in my covenant, and I regarded them not, saith the Lord. For this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, said the Lord. I will put my laws into their mind and write them in their hearts, and I will be to them a God, and they shall be to me a people. And they shall not teach every man his neighbor and every man his brother, saying, know the Lord, for all shall know me, from the least to the greatest. So again, it says the exact same thing, right? Hebrews 8 and 8, Jeremiah 31 and 31. So it's plain as day. The Most High God has always intended on bringing this kingdom back together, right? Under the rulership of Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai, right? So we brought out the book of Romans chapter 9 last week, verse 24. It says, even us, whom he hath called, not of the Jews only, but also of the Gentiles. As he said also in Osee, I will call them my people, which were not my people, and her beloved, which was not beloved. Right? This is talking about the children of Israel. OC is literally just a transliteration of Hosea, which we have a book of. And throw out to the brother for giving me this, because this was not on my mind. I'll be honest. The book of Hosea, chapter 1, and verse 10 says, "Yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured nor numbered. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, Ye are not my people, there it shall be said unto them, Ye are the sons of the living God. Then shall the children of Judah and the children of Israel be gathered together, and appoint themselves one head, and they shall come up out of the land, for great shall be the day of Jezreel." Right? So at the end of the day, it's all of the Most High. It's all prophesied. It was all written. Right? He said it even back when he rent the kingdom from the seed line of David, that it was only going to be temporary. It was only just to afflict that house for a little bit. Right? He always intended on bringing these two kingdoms back together. And this whole gospel, these laws, statutes, and commandments, these scriptures in and of themselves are only for the children of Israel, right? So with that, I yield.
Great points, King. And I'm gonna jump up in there with John 11, right? Dealing with Caiaphas. So for context, I'm gonna start at 45. It says, "Then many of the Jews which came to Mary and had seen the things which Yahushua did believed on him. But some of them went their ways to the Pharisees and told them what things Yahushua had done. Then gathered the chief priests and the Pharisees a council, and said, What do we? For this man doeth many miracles. If we let him thus alone, all men will believe on him, and the Romans shall come and take away both our place and nation. And one of them, named Caiaphas, Salakia, being the high priest that same year, said unto them, Ye know nothing at all, nor consider that it is expedient for us that one man should die for the people, that the whole nation perish not. And this spake he not of himself, but being high priest that year, he prophesied that Yahweh Shah should die for that nation, and not for that nation only, but that also he should gather together in one the children of God that were scattered abroad, right? Going into what the brother brought out in Ezekiel 37. These people have to be brought back together. You know what I'm saying? Up under one fold, these two sticks, which will represent Judah and Ephraim, which would be northern and southern kingdom. Because the northern kingdom was cast off, they're going to be brought back, right? Because the Lord did not cast off his people, right? As the brother, I believe you brought that out as well. Wasn't that Isaiah 11? I think saying the Lord had cast off his people. So yeah, let me grab something else real quick. This is, go to John chapter 10 and verse 14. And this is red letter. So it says, I am the good shepherd and know my sheep and am known of mine. As the Father knoweth me, even so know I the Father, and I lay down my life for the sheep. And other sheep I have, which are not of this fold. Them also I must bring, and they shall hear my voice, and there shall be one fold and one shepherd. And again, pointing back at what the brother brought in, just like with Ezekiel 37, when it's talking about that there should be one king, and these two nations that are brought together shall be up under him. But to bring it in the same context, what is Yahweh Shah basically referring to, right? Because what we got to understand is when it goes to basically the New Testament, there is no different understanding. The Bible is completely cohesive, right? So go to Ezekiel 34 I'm gonna start at 11 and see what Yahweh Shai is leaning in on or weighing in on. It says, "For thus saith the Lord God, behold, I, even I, will both search my sheep and seek them out." So we see it's talking about sheep, right? Let's see what it says. Verse 12, "As a shepherd seeketh out his flock in the day that he is among his sheep that are scattered, so will I seek out my sheep and will deliver them out of all the places where they have been scattered in the cloudy and dark day." Hold up. Let me go back to where I just was, right? You know what I'm saying? And what was it? No, not John 10, John 11 real quick. John 11, and I'm gonna start back at 51 because all this is tying in together. Like I say, the Bible completely cohesive. John 11 and 51. "And this spake he not of himself, but being high priest that year, that he prophesied that Yahweh Shai should die for that nation, and not for that nation only, but that also he should gather together in one the children of God that were scattered abroad." Now, what did Ezekiel just say? The sheep that are scattered, right? The only people that are scattered is us. You know what I'm saying? Is the children of Israel, right? Like the brother brought out with the curses. That's one of the curses that's put up on us. Deuteronomy 28 and 64. And we brought it out last week, kind of getting into that we are the only people scattered. You can't find another nation that the Lord says that they are scattered, that the Lord says that these people are his chosen people. The Lord says that these people are his elect, and so forth and so on. The apple of his eye. We can go on for days, right? But let's get back into it. Ezekiel 34, and I left off at 12. So it says, "As a shepherd seeketh out his flock in the day that he is among his sheep that are scattered, so will I seek out my sheep and will deliver them out of all the places where they have been scattered in the cloudy and dark day. And I will bring them out from the people." So they're scattered amongst these nations. I'm going to bring them out from amongst these nations, right? And let me keep going. "And gather them from the countries and will bring them to their own land." So he's saying he gonna bring us from how we were scattered abroad, these curses that was put up on us, and bring us into our own land, right? And keep going. "And feed them upon the mountains of Israel by the rivers, and in all the inhabited places of the country. I will feed them in a good pasture, and upon the high mountains of Israel shall their fold be. There shall they lie in a good fold, and in a fat pasture shall they feed upon the mountains of Israel, right? So I'm gonna jump down to 16 real quick. It says, "I will seek that which was lost and bring again that which was driven away, and will bind up that which was broken, and will strengthen that which was sick. But I will destroy the fat and the strong. I will feed them with judgment." Right? We're those people that were lost, that were scattered away, driven away, right? We're those people that was broken. If you go into, Isaiah, when it's going into the gospel, the good news or whatnot, what was spoken of in Luke, of course, what Yahweh Shah was speaking on is right there in Isaiah, right? And he was talking about the people that are broken down, that need to be binded back up. Again, the Bible completely cohesive through and through. So one more point real quick, and then you can get back in there if you got something, or we can, wrap it up. It's up to you. Go to the book of Romans, right? Because I said something earlier. So basically, the God did basically cast his people away and scatter them abroad for their iniquity, their idolatry, right? But he didn't cast them away forever, right? Because he, again, like we brought out, he's a merciful God. And these people that are cast away are now in the New Testament considered Gentiles. So the main portion that people go into when they're, having this little back and forth, well, one of them, because the brother brought it out last week as far as, considering the Jews and the Greeks, but, they'll go to the adoption, the grafting in process, right? And Romans 11 speaks to these Gentiles being grafted in. So let me dive in there real quick. I'm going to start from the top and I'm going to jump around, right? So this is Romans 11 and 1. It says, I say then, have God cast away his people? God forbid. So this is the infamous, the mighty man Paul saying, have God cast away his people? God forbid. Damn near like a hell no, right? It says, for I also am an Israelite of the seed of Abraham of the tribe of Benjamin. God have not cast away his people, which he foreknew, right? So that's pretty plain. He have not cast them away as far as I'm never going to deal with them again. Or the scriptures is not going into, all right, they didn't serve me the way that they were supposed to. So now, you know what? Salvation and all this is open for everybody. Everybody can come now. You know what I'm saying? Just because they messed up, now these other nations, they can come in and they can get these blessings. Even though I didn't make a covenant with them, I didn't promise them nothing. I ain't make them no covenant. They don't have the services of God. None of the above. You know what? These people that, like the brother said, that I said was nothing, all of a sudden, come on, come get in here. You know what I'm saying? Let's be one big happy family. No, right? So let me jump around. This is let me see where I want to start at. Salakia. So I'm gonna jump down to 15 because it's a lot on it. You can really get into the whole chapter, right? But I'm gonna jump to 15. It says, for if the casting away of them be the reconciling of the world. So this is one of them verses that they get into that's like the reconciling of the world. So they were cast away. So now the whole world can get it, right? John 3:16, right? Everything that they lean on. So it says, for if the casting away of them be the reconciling of the world, what shall the receiving of them be but life from the dead? Right? And these people are considered dead, right? Because basically they're not in the light, they're cast away into darkness. Just like if we go back to Ezekiel, when he speaks of, this valley of dry bones, like you, of course you're living, but you're like the walking dead, right? Because you're going to be, your judgment is going to be unto damnation. Basically, if you don't get right with the Most High God, you're considered as one dead. So verse 16, it says, for if the first fruit be holy, the lump is also holy. And if the root be holy, so are the branches. And if some of the branches be broken off, and thou, being a wild olive tree, will graft in among them, and with them partakest of the root and the fatness of the olive tree, boast not against the branches, but if thou boast, thou bearest not the root, but the root thee. Thou wilt say then, the branches were broken off that I might be grafted in. Well, because of unbelief, they were broken off, and thou standest by faith. Be not high minded, but fear. Right? So it was a lot said right then. But it says, like, it's going into being broken off, and it refers to, this grafting in process of, being an olive tree. Now, the people, let me try to find that precept. I think it's in Hosea. The people that are referred to as an olive tree, one, are the children of Israel, right? And then two, I dare you, if you try to do like a grafting in process, I dare you to try to graft in, a branch or whatever, from an orange tree to an apple tree. It's like if you're actually doing that process, it's gonna have to take of its own kind, right? These other nations are not of the stock of us, they're not the same, right? The Lord shows throughout the scriptures that there's a grave difference between us. So real quick, Hosea. Let me see where is that in Hosea. Damn, I forgot where it's at. Oh, let me see real quick, because I don't want to move past that. Salakia.
14 and 6.
14 and 6. Let me see. Hosea 14 and 6. That sound about right. I was looking at 4. Let me see. Con. So let me see. Let me start at 1 real quick and I'm going to jump down. 1 for context. And it says, O Israel, return unto the Lord thy God, for thou hast fallen by thine iniquity. This is what we've been talking about the whole time. Israel done fell and got cast away for their iniquity, their idolatry. So if we go down to verse 6, since we see that it's talking about Israel, right? I even go to 5. It says, no, I start at 4. It says, I will heal their backslide. As we went into again, Israel backslid. I will love them freely, for mine anger is turned away from him. I will be as the dew unto Israel. He shall grow as the lily and cast forth his roots as Lebanon. His branches shall spread, and his beauty shall be as the olive tree, and his smell as Lebanon. Right? And then here we go again. We jump down to 8. It says, showing again Israel, Ephraim, synonymous. Verse 8, Ephraim shall say, what have I to do any more with idols? I have heard him and observed him. I am like a green fir tree. From me is thy fruit fine. Right? It found, not fine. But again, this is showing that, in this day that they're basically cast away, well, not cast away, like step away or refrain from their iniquity, right? Says, what have I to do anymore with idols? I'm not dealing with that no more, because this is going into us being grafted in. But this is not the only precept dealing with Israel being an olive tree, being referred to as an olive tree. But like I said again, it's like there is no other nation that is referred to as that, right? So let me go back real quick to Romans 11 and try to wrap it up on that. I left off at 20. So I read 20 again to keep going. It says, well, because of the unbelief, they were broken off. Because of their idolatry, they were broken off. And thou standest by faith. Be not high-minded, but fear. For if God spared not the natural branches, take heed lest he also spare not thee. Behold, therefore, the goodness and severity of God on them which fell, severity, but toward thee goodness, if thou continue in his goodness, otherwise thou also shalt be cut off. And they also, if they abide not still in unbelief, shall be grafted in, for God is able to graft them in again. So if they step away from their iniquity, their unbelief, and and going in the ways of these other nations that they're scattered amongst, and come back to the Lord and remember their covenant, you know what I'm saying, repent, then they could be grafted in again, right? So let's keep going down, because the point is, when it comes down to Paul, one, like we brought out last week, he said a lot of things that if you're not studied or hard to be understood. But if you just keep reading, when it talks about this graft in process, it's about to get to the point. So let me go to 24. I left off at 23, 24. For if thou were cut out of the olive tree, which is wild by nature, and were graft contrary to nature into a good olive tree, how much more shall these, which be the natural branches, be grafted into their own olive tree? Now, there's a point. Again, we already showed that Israel will basically be that olive tree, or, Israelites, like us as a whole, will be referred to as an olive tree, right? But it says, how much more shall these, which be natural branches, not a foreign branch, not something that wasn't even had nothing to do with it. It's a natural branch, be grafted in, right? Keep going. It says, for I would not, brethren, that ye should be ignorant of this mystery, lest ye should be wise in your own conceits, that blindness in part is happened to Israel until the fullness of the Gentiles be come in. And so all Israel shall be saved, as it is written, there shall come out of Zion, or Sion, as it is written, Sion, the deliverer, and shall turn away ungodliness from Jacob. For this is my covenant unto them when I shall take away their sins. So it's plain. If we look at it, who did Yahweh Shah die for? We brought that out last week, right? We kind of went backwards on this. We ain't start from the beginning, but watch both of them, and we're gonna make it all make sense. But who did Yahweh Shah die to take away their sins, right? Who is he a deliverer to? It just said that come out of Zion a deliverer that shall turn away ungodliness from Jacob. So it's gonna bring these people back into the fold, graft in who? Israel. So these Gentiles that it's referring to again will be Israel. So like you for being long-winded, but you got it out.
Nah, King, that was mighty, 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 and mightily necessary. So the water for that, all praise to the Most High. But since you did that, I gotta go ahead and get that last little bubble of air that they'll try to use against what we bringing out, right? And we talked about it last week, but we didn't go into it, right? And I'm gonna do it as quick as possible because we got to get the count, right? Cornelius is an Israelite. Let's prove that real. I'm gonna try to do it as quick as possible, right? So this is book of Acts chapter 10 from the top, right? There was a certain man in Caesarea called Cornelius, a centurion of the band called the Italian band. So with that, people will stop right there and be like, you see that? He's an Italian. He's a Roman general, this, that, and the third. Let's keep reading, right? A devout man and one that feared God with all his house, which gave much alms to the people and prayed to God always. So it's saying he's a devout man, right? A devout man. What's a devout man? Let's go to the book. Acts chapter 2, verse 5, right? It says, and there were dwelling at Jerusalem Jews, devout men out of every nation under heaven, right? So the Jews are devout men, right? Back to Acts chapter 10. Acts chapter 10, verse 3. It says, he saw in a vision. Actually, no. Salakia. I got to get one more testimony real quick. He's a devout man, right? And I pulled it up. It's the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 3. I'm starting at verse 32. It says, or is there any other people? Actually, I'm going to start at verse 31. It says, I do not remember how this way may be left. Are they then of Babylon better than they of Zion? Or is there any other people that knoweth thee beside Israel? Or what generation has so believed thy covenants as Jacob? And yet their reward appeared not, and their labor had no fruit. For I have gone here and there through the heathen, and I see that they flow in wealth and think not upon thy commandments. Weigh thou therefore our wickedness now in the balance, and there's also that dwell in the world. And so shall thy name nowhere be found but in Israel. Or when was it that they which dwell upon the earth have not sinned in thy sight? Or what people have so kept thy commandments? Thou shalt find that Israel by name hath kept thy precepts, but not the heathen, right? So obviously that's a cut right there, right? He's a devout man that feared God with all his heart and gave much alms to the people and prayed to God always. Only Israel is doing that, especially in these times, right? Back to Acts chapter 10, verse 3. He said he saw a vision. He saw in a vision, evidently about the 9th hour of the day, an angel of God coming into him and saying unto him, Cornelius. And when he looked on him, he was afraid and said, what is it, Lord? Right? Like we brought out earlier, the Most High says that all these heathens are nothing, right? Isaiah chapter 40, verse 17, Second Ezra say it real cold. Let me get that real quick. Look at 2nd Ezra chapter 6 and verse 56. It says, as for the other people, which also come of Adam, thou hast said that they are nothing, but be like unto spittle, and has likened the abundance of them unto a drop that falleth from a vessel. So again, doubling down on that. The Most High God says that these other people are spit, right? He said, if you got a cup with some drink in your hand, and you walk in and a little drop fall out that cup, You really don't care about that drop at the end of the day. You care about that cup and everything that's still in it, right? Well, we're that cup with everything in it in the eyes of the Most High. Everybody else is that little drop that we don't care about, right? So why is the Most High God coming to a drop that he don't care about? Let's get Psalm, the classic, Psalm 147, verse 19. He showed his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgments unto Israel. He has not dealt so with any nation. And as for his judgments, they have not known them. Praise ye the Lord. So obviously, this showing that Cornelius of the Most High is coming to speak to him. Obviously, he has to be of the children of Israel, right? He says, verse 4, Acts 10 and 4. And when he looked on him, he was afraid and said, What is it, Lord? And he said unto him, Thy prayers and thine alms are come up for a memorial before God. And now send men to Joppa and call for one Simon, whose surname Peter, right? We're going to jump down just to fast forward for the sake of time. So obviously, the Most High God heard his prayers, right? Is he hearing the prayers of those that he calls nothing? I think not. We're going to jump down to when they finally meet, right? Peter and Cornelius. This is book of Acts chapter 10, verse 34. Then Peter opened his mouth and said, Of a truth, I perceive that God is no respecter of persons. They like to throw that out against us, right? He's like, well, God's no respecter of persons. He can love everybody, this, that, and the third, yada, yada, yada. Okay. This is the book of Exodus. Because when it says the Most High is no respecter of persons, he's talking about individuals. But here it is. It's the book of Exodus chapter 2 and verse 25, right? And God looked upon the children of Israel, and God had respect unto them. Well, damn. Well, damn. So he has respect unto Israel as a nation, from what that says. But let's get a second account. It's the book of Leviticus chapter 26 and verse 9. This is when he's making his covenant with the children of Israel. He says, For I will have respect unto you and make you fruitful and multiply you and establish my covenant with you. Right? Israel. Let's keep cooking. Acts chapter 10, verse 35. It says, But in every nation, he that feareth him and worketh righteousness is accepted of him. It does not say, but of every nation. It says, but in every nation. And as we've been bringing out, Israel was scattered all throughout the four corners of the world. And it's always been the Most High will to gather that olive tree back together, to gather that house back together, right? Under the rulership of that root of Jesse, Yahushua, Yahweh Hashem, Yahushua, right? And if brothers have anything else to bring out,
Nah, I was just saying, touching Cornelius, one more and we can close it out. 22.
Acts chapter 10, verse 22, right? And they said, Cornelius the centurion, a just man, and one that feareth God, and of good report among all the nation of the Jews, was warned from God by an holy angel to send for thee into his house and to hear words of thee. What can you do with that? What else do you do?
Exactly. That's your drop mic moment right there.
Drop the mic, right? But has got anything else you want to bring up?
Nah, that's it.
Well, well, Lord willing, somebody was edified in the coming days and weeks that this will be on Esau's wicked internet. And with that, hey, Shalom. Thank y'all for listening at the water.
Shalom.